Shelley Hofberg is a clairvoyant, medium, pet psychic, and tarot reader. She does not ask for the details about your life, but primarily relies on her gift of clairvoyance to receive the psychic insights that will be the most helpful to you about your soulmate, relationships, money concerns, and your career path. As a pet psychic, she will receive insights about what your pet or pets wants you to know. As a medium, she will connect with your loved ones on the other side. Shelley Hofberg is the host of the Psychic Horizon radio show, produced by Goldilocks Productions and presented on Blog Talk Radio, Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Shelley brings together the pioneers and visionary teachers to share with you some of the most enlightening knowledge that is out there today to expand your horizons and open the paths to higher consciousness.
Welcome to the Psychic Horizon Show. I'm your host, Psychic Shelley Hofberg, and today's special guest is Master Rune Reader DeForest, who will be talking about the runes and doing rune readings for you. And before I bring on Jay, I just want to make some quick announcements that on July 20th, I will have Brian Rawls as my special guest. He's the host of the Magical Journey radio show that comes on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And on June 29th, I'll have Cynthia Starr talking about soul healing. And on July 6th, I'll have Carl Young talking about out-of-body experiences. And on July 13th, I'll have Francis Poland talking about automatic writing. And on July 27th, I'll have Toby Gant, who talking about soul readings. And I just wanted to let you know there's a special event this coming Saturday at the Learning Light Foundation in Anaheim, located at 1212 East Anaheim Lincoln Boulevard. There's going to be the summer solstice event. There's going to be food and entertainment. So if you live anywhere near Orange County, come and check out the event. It's free. And on July 8th, I'll be at the Learning Light Foundation again, their psychic fair, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And on July 29th, I'll be at the School of Multidimensional Healing and Science Psychic Fair from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm now ready to bring on my guest, DeForest, who will be doing rune readings and talking about runes. Hello, Jay.
Good afternoon, Shelley. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Jay. It's good to have you on the show. And, Jay, can you tell the callers a little bit about yourself?
Well, I've been working in the field of metaphysics for a little over 30 years. It started as just my own personal practice, which was a spin-off of my kind of Roman Catholic upbringing, and realizing that that wasn't really my path. And that began a long process of exploring different traditions and working with different mediums that I found more suitable for myself. And so just about 30 years ago is when I discovered the runes, and that's when I started working with them. But I work with a lot of other formats as well, tarot, astrology, and have had a metaphysical bookstore that I owned for several years in Portland, Oregon, and now have an online store and do a lot of fairs and festivals and private reading clients and personal counseling. So that's the nutshell version.
Awesome. And Jay, how did you get started working with the runes?
Initially, it was a tool that I was using for sort of self-exploration and something as a meditation tool. I, like many people, at some point discovered Ralph Blum's Book of Runes, which I, at the time, thought was a pretty good resource, and it was for beginning with things. Excuse me. I've since come to realize that is a very different slice of the rune work than most of the other rune masters follow. It was his own personal meditations on the runes, But for a lot of people, that was the gateway that they've used to discover them. And so that's where I started. And then working with that, ended up creating my own rune set. One of the things that really drew me to the runes versus other systems is just the nature of it, the fact that these are tangible objects. They're not something you're getting off of a printed card or off of a book or whatever, but they are actually physical objects, whether they're stone or clay or wood or whatever they happen to be created out of. And to me, that was a big draw, was to actually have something I could hold in my hand and use as a meditation tool. So that's kind of where I started with it, and worked that for quite a long time before ever even considering doing readings for other people.
Awesome. And Jay, let's take our first caller, which is area code 201. Hello, 201.
Hi, I'm Jennifer calling from New Jersey.
Hello, Jennifer.
Hi. My question is, like romance, do you see the person that I started talking to, do you see that going anywhere, or do you see you meeting someone?
Well, I haven't really had a chance to say how I do readings yet, but a lot of what I do when it comes to relationship readings is taking a look at where you personally are, and then from there, how that's going to influence whatever situation you happen to be in. So if you can give me a moment, I'll do a 3-rune reading on just kind of you personally, and then we can see what that looks like, if that's all right.
Okay.
Okay. So give me just a moment here, and
sure.
Excuse me. Okay, so what I'm getting for you as kind of an internal aspect, a part of who you are and your nature that you're bringing to situations, is Berkana. And Berkana is the divine feminine rune. It's the mother rune, and it's about creative energy and very nurturing energy. And so if that's part of your nature that you're bringing to situations, then that's going to influence how you're going to interact with people around you.
Right.
Then the next one that I'm getting on an outside level is there influences that are outside of yourself that the universe is kind of offering for you to take into consideration. And the one I'm getting for that is the rune for trust. And basically that one, and there's 2 parts to this rune, as there are with several of them, because what this rune represents in its archetype is the horse. And so part of it is about trust and building a partnership. If you think about the horse and the rider and how those two really need to interact and work well together for it to be a good relationship. And the other part about the horse is it's one of the runes that has to do with movement. And
what does it have to do
with movement.
Oh, okay.
And being able to explore new areas. Because if you think there's 2 of the runes, the other one has to do with the cart, and the horse is much more free-form. The cart has to follow a path versus the horse, which can decide, I see this interesting meadow over here, and it's off the trail a little bit, and I'm going to go explore that, or I'm going to go down to the creek. And so with that rune as your outside influence, what I'm seeing there is 2 parts to what you should be considering in looking at that relationship. One is, what's the trust level there? Is it the relationship that you feel like you can start to build a sense of trust and partnership with this person? And number 2 is, will it take you in directions that you're feeling like you want to go? That makes sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Then the central one that's coming up in between all these, and which is kind of the practical everyday world piece of this, is the rune for foundation. And so basically what that one talks about is doing things in a logical order, logical progression. So, for example, we don't build a house by putting on the roof tiles. We build a house by figuring out what kind of house we want and where we want it to be and what the ground is going to be like, and then start to create a plan. So with the 3 of these combined, what I see is for you to evaluate the situation with anybody, this person or anybody else, based on your own creative and nurturing nature, and looking at them to discover, is there a foundation for building some trust with this person and a partnership so that it's not a one-way draw? Because with somebody who has Berkana as your internal aspect, it's really easy for people to be, just taking advantage of that and drawing that energy from you. Have you experienced that in the past?
No, I understand.
So it's about, being sure that you're looking at a balanced situation so that it's not a one-way draw, that whatever you're giving all this creative and nurturing energy, and they're just taking and never giving back.
Yeah, that's
and then if things look good, then to actually form a plan, but don't rush ahead. Don't get the cart before the horse, so to speak. Build the trust, build the friendship, get to know who this person is as a person before you start, investing too much emotionally into a long-term goal that you think it's going to reach. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, have a good day.
I think he's a good person, Jennifer, and I think that there is a chemistry there between the two of you, a strong chemistry, and it looks like within a 3 period, so I would say over the next 2 or 3 months, that a relationship could develop. You're also going to be meeting somebody new as we get into the month of July. So it looks like July and August is good for romance, but you're going to have a choice between 2 people, the guy that you're interested in and a new guy that comes up in July. So you're going to have a choice between 2 people, but either way, it looks like it's a good time for romance and that you are going to get into a romantic relationship. Jay, how can Jennifer get in contact with you?
My website has a contact page on it, and that's Jay DeForest, JayDeforest.com.
Okay. And you could get a hold of me, Jennifer, at 818-744-5241, or go to PsychicHorizon.com. And thank you for calling the Psychic Horizon Show, Jennifer.
I wish you all the best with that.
Thank you. Bye.
We're now going to continue our interview with Jay DeForest on the runes, and then we're going to take our next caller, which is area code 678. What exactly are runes, Jay?
Well, in its purest sense, runes are symbols, and there are several different sets of runes that have developed over time around the world. The runes we're talking about are the Norse runes, the Futhark runes, that come from about 2,000 years ago in Northern Europe. And they are kind of drawn on Norse mythology. And basically in the set there are 24 of these different symbols, and they're very angular type of symbols because they were created originally to be able to be drawn with just an imprint tool. So they're all based on straight lines, or staves is what they're called. And each of the runes has different correspondences, archetypes that they represent, aspects of nature or society that we have created to live together. And they also are an alphabet, so they can be used, or originally were used as an actual alphabet for written communication. But then with having these associations built into them, they can be used for divination purposes. In the Norse mythology, they were, originally a gift from Odin, but we have used this, you can either study the Norse mythology deeply, or you can use them more kind of archetypally in a more of a Jungian fashion, which is what I do.
Interesting. And let's take our next caller, Jay, which is area code 678. Hello, 678.
Hello, this is Regina.
Hello, Regina.
Hi, Regina.
And Regina, how can we help you today?
My question is centered around employment, career, because I left a job last Wednesday since it was a temp job. Do you see something coming in soon, perhaps, or like by July? Or actually landing a job, not just when the job's coming in.
Okay, by July?
Yes.
Okay, the work that I do is less predictive than what Shelley does. But looking at what I'm seeing for you, first of all here is I'm seeing a rune for patience, which could be that there's going to be a little bit of having to wait until the right situation arises for you. But that's going hand in hand with the rune for water, which is about being in the flow of what's the proper aspect for your life, the things that are going to keep your energy and move you forward, and that one leading to the rune for personal growth and transformation. So what I would see with it, while, like I say, I don't do the predictive parts as far as specific dates and that sort of thing, but what I would see with it is in the process that you're going through right now, you've set yourself in motion for something that's very evolutionary that is going to be taking you in a really positive direction and in new directions for you that are stuff that you haven't tried yet. And part of it is going to be allowing yourself some patience while this kind of starts to become normal for you, because it's going to be something that's a chance for you to grow and experience new aspects of yourself if you give it the time to do that. As far as the timeline for getting a new job, what I would say with that is to put out your energy as best as possible with an open mind towards things that are going to lead to that personal growth, and at the same time, try not to rush yourself. Give yourself time, however you can, to allow the right one to turn up. Shelley, what do you have?
Okay. Thank you.
Regina, I get that you'll be getting a job before September. So sometime in the month of July or the month of August, you're going to be employed. It's going to be a medium to large size company. It's going to be an opportunity for advancement and growth in the company. You'll advance yourself and grow within the company. Within a year's time, you get hired, you'll be promoted, and it looks like it pays well. So it's going to be a better paying job than your last job. So you're coming up in the world. And Jay, how can Regina get in contact with you?
Again, through the website at jdeforest.com.
Okay.
And Regina, you could get a hold of me at 818-744-5241 or go to psychichorizon.com. And did you have another question today, Regina?
Yes. Speaking of love, I'm currently single, so I'm trying to see if something in the cards for me for romance, because I'm so tired of focusing on work, and I'm like, well, let me just get off of that and see if something, because that's been my focus for the past 2 years. I'm just over it now. I would love to get that place I can just I can breathe now. Let me focus on something else. So, anything for love?
What I'm seeing you for that with you is the last couple of years have kind of put you in this sort of safe sanctuary space where, you've been kind of focused on work and not having to work with, being out there and, dealing with the whole dating and romance situation. But where you're at right now, what I'm seeing is it's the warrior rune, which is not just about warrior aspects, but it's about putting yourself in the foreground, and sharpening up your skills and your abilities and immersing yourself back into that environment. And the outcome that I'm seeing with that is the rune for joy. So I'm seeing that it's a good time for you to be putting some energy back into opening the channels and stepping out of that sanctuary that you've been in and letting yourself take a little bit of chances and open the door to stuff that is going to be moving you in a good direction.
Oh, finally, huh? Yes, definitely. Coming from a divorce, I'm like, I know I need to work on myself, but I feel like I'm over it. I think I healed. I think I have passed it, moved on, and I'm just ready for someone else now.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. You've had your time, kind of in the safe zone. Now it's time to, let your heart get out there again and see what the universe has for you. But the outcome of that looks really nice.
Oh, thank you. That's good news.
I do feel, Regina, that there is a relationship coming up right around August, right around Leo time, and Leo rules romance. So right as we get into August and get into Leo time, there'll be a new relationship coming up for you that will be a committed relationship. And it's with the guy with dark hair, dark eyes, who is a professional man who has his own business and works for himself. And he's also divorced and has children for a previous marriage. So I feel that there's a lot of compatibility in this relationship, and that it's going to be a strong soulmate connection in the relationship. So there is a relationship coming up in August for you. And Jay, how can Regina get in contact with you?
The contact page at the website is JAYDEFOREST, JDeForest.com.
And you could get a hold of me, Regina, at 818-744-5241, or go to PsychicHorizon.com. And thank you for calling the Psychic Horizon Show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Regina. I'm now going to continue my interview with Jay DeForest on the runes, and then we're going to take our next caller, which is area code 610. Why are they called Futhark, Jay?
Actually, it's pronounced Futhark, and what it derived from is the names of the first 6 runes. And because, as I mentioned, the runes are also used as an alphabet, and so each of them has a letter correspondence that we have come to call them. So with the first 6, with Fehu, Uruz, Thurzaz, Ansu, and Rezo and Kanaz, when you take just their phonetic names, you get Futhark. And there are several versions of the Futhark runes. The original and oldest ones are what we call the Elder Futhark. And then later, a couple of hundred years down the road, they were evolved to an Anglo-Saxon version, which added a couple of additional ones in, and then they were pared down a little bit again with what they call the Younger Futhark. But most of the people who do rune casting work with the Elder Futhark, and that's what I tend to use.
Awesome. And let's take our next caller, Jay, which is area code 610. Hello, 610.
Hello?
Hello, who do we have the pleasure of speaking to?
Hi, this is Sonia.
Hello, Sonia.
Hi, Sonia.
And Sonia, what is your question today?
My question is regarding career. I just applied for a job today, and I just, I do have a job now, but this job is different. It's much closer to where I live. It's something where I definitely, see myself growing. It seems like a great atmosphere, great company, and I already called in to give the person heads up that I sent over my resume and my job letter, which I worked on it quite a bit. I even had someone, proofread it and help me. So I wanted to see what you're picking up as far as this specific position.
Okay. Well, to begin with, what I'm seeing is the rune for the sun, which is about a lot of really positive energy. And so I would say to begin with is keep your energy really up about this. Don't let your concerns, anxieties, whatever other negativity parts may come into play. Sometimes we get, we kind of hope for something, but then we start talking ourselves out of it. And so the first piece, what I would see for you is to really keep your energy up about this. Stay very positive, focused, and, put all of that forward into the intention of the job that you're looking to get. The next part of this is about allowing yourself to really be creative and see new ideas and growth possibilities for you with this. The second rune that you've got here, Ingus, is about putting ideas into motion, starting things up. And then the third one that I got is, and I'll talk to Shelley a little bit more about this after, is what we call weird. It's the WYRD, is the blank rune. And it's not one of the original traditional set, but it had been added in, excuse me, and it's the rune for wide open possibilities. So what I'm seeing is that you've got a new situation with this that is going to open some channels for you that you've not explored before, and giving you a chance to let more of your creative energy into play, but you've really got to just keep your positive energy up about it. Kind of anything that's trying to distract you from pursuing this and just being your best and shining through the whole interview and hiring process, just set those things aside and just really stay focused on your most creative and positive self.
Right, but do you see them contacting me for an interview?
Yes, and I think that when you get to that point, it's really going to be important for you to just shine. Don't hold back. Don't put your light under a basket. Let them see, the best of who you are, and let them see your creativity. That you've got ideas, you've got ways that you want to add to the job. What type of work are you doing?
Right.
What
actually,
what
it has something to do. It has something to do with IT, but it's more of a business process in there, which just the pure IT has becoming kind of boring for me. But this other component of it, that's what I like, and I already see myself doing it. Any idea as to when you think they'll be contacting me? Because I already gave them heads up. They already heard my name, so they passed it on to the person.
Right. Well, as I said, I don't do much in terms of the timeline predictions. I do more of the situation and the energy going into it. But if you've got this really strong positive energy about this and the very kind of creative piece of yourself that you want to invest into that job, then I see it probably moving fairly quickly. But as far as giving you a firm timeline, that's kind of outside of my scope. But Shelley might have something for you there.
Okay. Thank you.
I feel that they'll get in contact with you from the time that you sent out your cover letter and resume. It's going to be 7 to 14 days, so 1 to 2 weeks that they contact you. So they are going to contact you for an interview. And I feel that there's going to be 2 interviews. There's going to be a singular person and there's going to be a group interview. And I feel that you'll first talk to the person in charge of the job, hiring for the job, and you'll have a singular interview. And within a 1 or 2 week period of the first interview, you'll go on your second interview, which will be the group interview. So it does look like that there is a good possibility of you getting hired for the job. I think that you have the experience and qualifications that they're looking for, and that the interview is going to go well. Both interviews are going to go well. So I feel that there could be a job offer before the end of June, or as we get into early July, that's when the job offer comes in. So it does look like that you'll get the job. And Jay, how can Sonia get in contact with you?
You're welcome to get in touch through the website at jdeforest.com and just click on the contact page.
And you can get a hold of me, Sonia, at 818-744-5241 or go to psychichorizon.com. And thank you for calling the Psychic Horizon Show, Sonia.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
We're now going to continue our interview on runes with Jay DeForest, and then we're going to take our next caller, which is Carolyn, area code 818. How are runes used in divination, Jay?
Well, there's a variety of ways. As I said, when I first started working with runes myself, I used them as a meditation tool. So I would draw a single rune and then spend time just focusing on what the meaning of that rune was, and being that they represent different archetypes, whether it's sun or fire or ice or there are various different archetypal energies, and to actually focus on what that energy had to do with, what that archetype had to do with the question that I was posing. And then gradually, as I got more of an intuitive sense of each of the runes individually, begun using them in terms of layouts, what we call rune casting. And there's various different techniques that people use for rune casting. Sometimes it's just reaching into a bag or a pouch that you keep the runes in, and while you're focusing on the question, drawing out however many you want to read. Sometimes it's 1, 3, 5, however many you want for a particular reading. I actually tend to use a large clay bowl, because when I'm reading at public events, it's much easier for people to be able to reach into the bowl than inside of a small pouch. And then as they draw out the runes, first of all, we decide what is the question that they want to ask, which is a very important piece. I do get an awful lot of people who stop in and they want just an open reading. They just want to look at what I call sort of an overview of situations going on for them. And so there's not a specific question that they're asking. They just want to know what's happening around me in terms of, the energies and influences in my life. And so I have a particular layout that I work for that. If they have specific questions or decisions that they're trying to make, I have different layouts that might form branches. That would, if you followed one branch, you'd be going down one aspect of the decision. If you have followed the other branch, you'd be looking at the other direction and giving them insights as to what they would encounter going in each of those directions in terms of the challenges that they would face, what the likely outcome would be, and just basically giving them an opportunity to get these ideas out in the air and see them. I always tell people that, I'm going to be able to explain to them what the significance of the rune is, what its position in the layout represents, what that specific spot is about, and then the relationship between the runes. And they are going to be the ones that will then figure out for themselves, what does that mean to them? They are going to have their own internal reaction to that, and that's the other part of the equation in terms of how I work with them. It's a very Jungian process where, they see an image, or in this case, an archetype, that I explain to them what that archetype means. And, if I talk about Isa, the rune for ice, which is about patience and about steadfast progress and is about being very kind of long-standing and reliable, and talking about that being part of their personal nature, they're going to know what that relates to for them. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. It's an interesting way of reading.
Yeah, it's a very interactive type of reading. And then some people ask a lot of questions during a reading, and some people don't. They just take in what I'm saying and absorb it. And, but in each case, they're going to have their own internal reaction to it, whether they're verbalizing that back to me or not. And so, for me, I tell people, the more that they put into the reading through interaction, the more they're likely to get out of it. But at the same time, I know there are people who it's very private for them, and they're going to take the information and go their way and do what they will with it. And, of course, there's lots of different styles of readings. Different rune masters work, in different ways. But this is what I've been doing for, the last 15 years or so with doing public readings with people, and I've found it to be a very, very effective technique.
Awesome. And let's take our next caller, Jay, which is Carolyn, area code 818. Hello, Carolyn.
Hello. How are you doing?
We're doing
good.
Great. How about yourself, Carolyn?
I'm doing good. I wanted to know, what does the universe have in store for me? That's kind of general.
Any particular area, or just in the big picture?
It doesn't matter, either a relationship or a big picture.
Okay. Okay, what I see for you is a very positive exchange of energy back and forth between you and the universe around you. That basically there are forces that are waiting to give you new opportunities to grow and discover yourself. And at the same time, they're asking for you to invest that energy into that relationship. So it's not just a matter of you're going through your life in a very passive way, but actually what I'm seeing with this is for you to actually have a very conscious engagement with your spiritual life, if you will, however you see that. That's different for each person. But what I'm seeing is the universe asking for you to form this very alive relationship between yourself and the larger energies around you. And through that opening of that channel, of that communication, they're going to be giving you a lot of insights into your family and how what you have been doing is something that you can actually give this gift forward into the next generations, that at the same time calling from your past generations and pulling wisdom and insights and actually making you into what I would see as a very wise woman that people see as a resource and want to go to. Say, Carolyn, what do you see? Can you tell me? How can you, show me what I need to know? And you becoming more and more of that sort of a wise woman in the world around you, but specifically within your own family.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good information to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Carolyn, I feel that the rest of the year is going to be good for you. It's going to be productive. It looks like that your health will start to improve, and that health-wise you'll start to feel more vitality and more energy. It looks like you'll be getting during the summer months that you'll be getting together with family for barbecues and getting together with your family and being with family. It looks like within 3 or 4 months you're going to hear from your sister that you haven't heard from for a while, that you will hear from him, but it may take another 3 or 4 months, but she's going to be contacting you first because you're the one that she is the closest to. And it does look like that between August and December is a relationship coming up, and it's someone you meet for a metaphysical event. I feel for a metaphysical center or metaphysical event, something with metaphysical or psychic event that you meet this gentleman at, and I'm picking up the name Michael, M like in Michael. So it does look like you. So it does look like you will meet somebody, and that by the end of the year, start a relationship.
Okay.
And Jay, how can Carolyn get in contact with you?
She can reach me at jdeforest.com. Very straightforward, just like it's spelled. It's JAYDEFOREST.com.
Thank you. Thank you both.
And thank
right,
you for
Carolyn.
calling,
Have a good day.
Carolyn.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We're now going to continue our interview with Jay DeForest on the runes, and then we're going to take our next caller, which is area code 551. If someone wants to learn to read runes, where should they begin, Jay?
Well, there are several good books out there. There are several rune masters who have researched these very thoroughly. The first part I would suggest is to decide how they want to study the runes. Do they want to study the mythology of the runes, which is very deep? You get into Norse mythology, and it's very rich. It's a very colorful mythology, but it's also very heavy and very intense. And so for some people, it's a little more than they want to bite off, just try to immerse into all of that. And so they might want to take a little lighter approach on the mythology piece and look more at the runes as a set of symbols and the archetypes of them. And so then figuring out, taking a look at which books seem to approach it from which direction. And one of the authors that has written many of the most prominent rune books is Edred Thorson. That's E-D-R-E-D, and last name Thorson, Thorson. And one of the primary books out there is Futhark, A Handbook of Rune Magic. And another really good book is by Diana Paxton, and she is an author who has written a book called Taking Up the Runes, and she looks a lot at the relationship between runes and the archetypes involved. And then part of what, after I sold my store several years ago, my wife and I actually created a set of flashcards for people learning various aspects of metaphysics. And they're called the Living Magic learning cards. And basically we have one for runes, tarot, astrology, palmistry, crystals and stones, and Kaballah. And the way that the cards work is a lot of times people would come to our shop and ask, how do I memorize all this stuff? I mean, runes are simple. There's only 24 of them versus, tarot, which has 78 cards, and astrology, which has houses and planets and you name it. But in any of these pursuits, if you have to constantly stop and go back to a book and look up what something means or look up what the association is, it really slows you down. And so I would tell students to get their 2 or 3 favorite books on a topic and then get a blank set of 3x5 cards and go through and make themselves flashcards on the various different, phrases and concepts that they wanted to really learn. And that gave rise to the idea of us creating these sets of Living Magic learning cards, which in the rune set, there's a card for each of the 24 runes, and on the front it has a picture of it, and on the back it has the associations of what that rune represents. Like, for example, the rune, the card for Fehu is the theme is prosperity and property and wealth, and looking at different ways that you can use this symbol for workings. What are key phrases to go with that? And gradually people memorize those key concepts, and then they can stop having to look it up in the book. And once you can stop looking it up in the book, you can start to let your intuition really flow. And that's where, I think we're all trying to get to, is the point where you just have an intuitive understanding of what the rune means, or what the tarot card means, or what that particular crystal represents. And once you have that, then you're real on the path towards really becoming, a reader for people, or, a consultant or a teacher. So that's what I would suggest, is read some really good books. And, if you're interested, take a look at the flashcards. They're called Living Magic flashcards. And there's a lot of information to absorb.
Would they just go to your website to find the flashcards?
Yeah, they can find a link to the flashcards there, or if they just do a Google search for Living Magic learning cards, or rune learning cards in this case, and they'll come up with links for where they can find them. We have them on Amazon. We have them available for our own website, and they're it's a fairly inexpensive tool. They're $24.95, but they're a really handy tool for learning these types of things. And with the rune set, because as opposed to the tarot or the astrology decks, for example, where there are 80 plus cards, the rune set, because there's only 24 runes, and we do include weird, which I want to talk a little more about that if you have a moment. Because it's such a much smaller number of runes, we actually have two sets of cards in that one. One of them is the flashcards that have the rune on one side and all of its correspondences on the other. And then the other is just a set that you can actually do rune castings with. It has the rune on one side, and then they have a blank tablet on the other side, so that you can actually do rune castings, shuffle the cards, lay them out, and then turn them over to see what the rune is, just as you would with a regular stone or wood rune. And so people get two of those sets in the same kit with this one.
That's good.
Are we okay on time? I'd like to talk a little bit about weird, but I can do that after the next caller if you prefer.
Talk about what?
About, excuse me, about the blank rune, weird. But that's kind of a separate topic.
You can talk about that now. That's okay.
Okay. It's one of the debatable points among rune masters. A lot of the people who are really strong traditionalists that only want to read with the original set of Futhark runes, the elder runes. So a lot of them actually discount the blank rune. And how the blank rune came into existence was, again, I remember I mentioned about Ralph Blum's book, The Book of Runes. And apparently, with the rune set that he had, there was a blank rune included, which ostensibly was to be used if you lost one of the runes, that you could replace it with this blank one by writing the appropriate symbol on it. But he included it in his meditations as one of the runes, thereby making the set 25 instead of 24. And so a lot of the traditional rune masters don't like the idea of having this included. But I personally find in a lot of readings that having the blank rune in there as kind of a wild card has really been very helpful for people. Because to me, what that particular rune represents is the unforeseen possibilities, the things that you never would have thought about or explored or considered until a certain set of circumstances comes up. And so when that card or when that rune comes up, it's an opportunity for somebody to get a little bit of a reminder to think outside the box, be open to new possibilities, and life has just got some surprises for you. So I think it's a valid one to consider, but I also realize that for a lot of people, they're more traditional and they don't want to do that. So it's a matter of personal choice.
Interesting. And Jay, let's take our next caller, which is area code 551.
Hi, it's Tasha.
Hi. Tasha? Hello, Tasha.
Hi, Tasha.
Hi. I was just calling about romance to see what you saw coming in for me.
Okay. there anybody in particular that you're looking at right now, or are you just kind of open to seeing what's coming for you?
Open.
Okay. Give me a moment here. Okay. So for you, one of the things that I'm seeing is as you're being open to also kind of having an idea for yourself about where you want a romance to go. Are you looking for a short summer fling, somebody that you can, kind of hang out with for, a couple of months and take a vacation or two with, or are you looking for somebody that you can start to build a long-term partnership with? So that's one piece of it, is to figure that out for yourself about what your specific
I know it's more.
are.
I want long-term. Yeah, I know what I want.
Okay.
I want something long-term.
Okay. So that's part one of it. And then, oops, I'm hearing trains. You okay? You okay, Shelley?
Yeah.
I heard trains.
Yeah.
Okay. So then with that in mind, then what I'm seeing for you is that it's a very productive and very active time for you to be putting that energy out and being open to somebody good coming in. And the person that I'm seeing coming in is going to be somebody that is going to cause you to have to grow and have to be a little more flexible with the possibilities of what that relationship is. And so it may be something where it involves either a move or some shifting of who you are right now in order to be able to accommodate that relationship, but not doing it in a way that's sacrificing yourself for that relationship, but more is about just being able to say, okay, I hadn't really thought about, going in this direction, but I'm willing to see and what that might hold for you. And what I'm seeing with it is that it's going to be a really positive adventure for you when you find that person, and don't discount them right off the bat, because it's probably going to be a situation with somebody that you look at and you go, yeah, no, they're not my type, but that type of thing. But if you allow yourself to be flexible and explore that, I think you're going to find something really surprising and really good for you there. But it's going to be in a direction that's not what you've always been looking for so far. Does that make sense for you?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, give yourself some latitude to try and be open to, it could be, like I say, somebody in a different city, somebody of a different, a kind of religious background, something that's different from what you've always been looking at is, I think, part of a key that's going to help you find the right person here.
Okay.
I feel, Tasha, that the relationship is coming up in September, October, that you're going to meet a gentleman that's a little bit younger in age, that maybe 2 or 3 years younger, that has dark hair, dark eyes, that's in a creative field. He does something very creative or in entertainment. And I feel that it's going to be a soul connection between you and this gentleman, that there will be a strong a connectiveness and attraction. And I agree with Jay, it may be someone that you weren't anticipating meeting, but if you give it a chance, it could turn out to be a good relationship for you. It's an attractive person, and it could be a good relationship, and he's just a little different than what you were expecting, but different not in a bad way or a negative way, different in more of a positive way. It would be a positive relationship. And Jay, how can Tasha get in contact with you?
You can reach me through my website at jdeforest.com.
And you could reach me, Tasha, at 818-744-5241 or go to psychichorizon.com. And thank you for calling the Psychic Horizon Show, Tasha.
Thanks.
All right, you have a good day. Thank you.
We're now going to take our last caller, which is area code 203. Hello, 203. Hello, 203.
Hey. Hello.
Hi, who do we have the pleasure of speaking to?
My name is Victoria.
Victoria? Hello, Victoria.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I was calling in regard to my love life. I just wanted to ask if you see Jeff and I reconnecting and being able to have a relationship.
Okay. Shelley has the advantage on me because I'm going first, so she has time. Okay. Well, I see your situation being one that's going to call for you to actually pull up a lot of strengths that may be kind of challenging for you to do, that you're perhaps used to being a little bit more gentle and sort of the person who's giving and willing to compromise. But I'm seeing the situation requiring you, if you're going to be able to reconcile things, to push yourself to be a stronger person in the relationship and set your boundaries more clearly and be a little bit more of a controlling, not controlling in terms of, over controlling, but more of a sharing control in the relationship. And that basically for both parties, in order to do that, is going to take a certain degree of growth and learning some new skills. So if it's going to resolve and come back together, there's going to have to be a kind of a redefining of roles in the relationship and how that partnership is working. If you're successful in doing that, then I see there being a potential for the relationship to come back together in a more joyful way than it had been. But it's going to be a challenge to figure out how to redefine those roles and for you to really stand strong in your boundaries and your needs, to express those clearly and to not waver on those.
Mhm. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mhm. It does. Do
Shelley,
you see that he?
Or go ahead. Go ahead, Victoria.
Do you see that he wants to reconnect with me?
Give me a moment here. I'm seeing that he's unsure. What I'm saying is that he's not really sure what he wants, and that part of you having to be stronger is going to be having to really get him to come to the table and say, what is it that you want? I'm seeing him being kind of ambivalent, that part of him wants part of what he has or had with you, and part of him wants something else, but he doesn't know what that is. And so, again, back to this idea of having to redefine the relationship, and the only way that can happen is going to be for both parties to be really clear about what do we want, what are we building here, because you can be as clear as crystal, and if he's still vague and uncertain, and that's what I'm picking up, is that there's a certain degree of ambivalence on his part, and if that's the case, then it's not going to come together. But if he can come to the point of saying, okay, this is what I want, and I know that I'm willing to commit to this, then you've got something to work with. But if he's going to continue to be, kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, then your wiser course would be to let it go and, put your energy into looking for something new.
Mhm. Okay.
I think he cares about you, Victoria, but he's afraid. I think that there's a little bit of fear holding him back, that he is afraid of making a commitment. That commitment has always been an issue in the relationship. The relationship has been one that's been back and forth. And I think that he has to get over his fear of making a commitment in order to get back into the relationship with you. There's not another woman in the picture. He is working a lot and spending time with family and friends. He doesn't have another relationship, so he is available. So, it's just going to take time to come together. And, Jay, how can Victoria get in contact with you?
The website is JayDeForest, jaydeforest.com.
And thank you for calling, Victoria.
Okay. Can I just ask really quickly one last thing about that?
Yeah.
Do you see him moving back to Connecticut?
That's one that as I say, I don't do much of the predictive types of things in that regard. So, Shelley, do you have something like that?
Not at this time. He seems to like where he's living, and he seems to be getting settled there. If he was to move back to Connecticut, it wouldn't be until next year, in 2018, and it would be because of a new job that he would move. That's the only thing that would make him move is a job. But right now he's kind of situated and settled in the place that he's living.
Okay. Any time frame of when I would hear from him?
Possibly in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for calling, Victoria, and have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
I want to thank Jay DeForest for being my guest on the Psychic Horizon show. He'll be back in the future. I wanted to thank Tiffany White, Sage Woman, for producing the Psychic Horizon show. And I want to thank all the callers who participated in the Psychic Horizon show. Thank you for calling, Jay.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.